And now, the Riverdale Carnival presents the Archies.
Take care of the kissing booth while we're singing, Sabrina.
Okay, everybody, here we go with our new hit record, Sugar, Sugar!
Sugar, oh honey, honey, you are my candy girl, and you got me wanting you.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hero Movie Podcast, your greatest source for superhero movie discussion in the multiverse. I am your host, Adam Portrais, and I'm joined, as always, by Sean Keenan.
Heidi wants to warn you, this is going to be a very negative podcast.
And, of course, Bruce Leslie.
I'm a prickly pear, and I'm looking forward to when they all turn into zombies.
Let me tell
and
you.
I don't know what you got going on your end there, Adam, but it is slapping back on me and Sean.
All right. Well, I'm just going to go ahead
pretty
and get on that. Who knows how these things work? I'm not sure. So let me see if I can maybe.
Let's see. Oh, better already.
Better already?
Yeah,
Not
that
coming
sounds
back?
pretty good.
Okay, good. Maybe it was just this stupid song, so we're gonna pretend that doesn't exist anymore. Well, on this week's episode, everybody, we are we got some interesting stuff. Hopefully, we'll be able to make it through. I'm doing a little bit more duty than normal here. Because we're actually streaming this show on our Facebook page, man. So facebook.com/Hero Movie Podcast. You can see some stuff. So hey, it's an adventure. Whether we do this every week or not, probably not, just because it is a lot of work. But hey, I just wanted to try something out. But and I've been learning. I've been learning because I started a new podcast, as most of you heard last week and everything. And we're doing more of that kind of stuff. So it is what it is.
Cool.
But yeah, man, today we're going to be talking about Riverdale, the new probably hit show, maybe hit show. What do you think?
Lukewarm hit.
Lukewarm hit?
I hope not.
I hope that it does well enough that they try harder in the second season and go with that Afterlife with Archie storyline.
Okay, all right. Well, I mean, that might be a thing, but who's to say? Who's to say? I think that we might have Well, we'll get into it. I think we'll get into it.
I hope it falls off a cliff. I really do. I can't wait. I can't wait for this thing to be over.
Keenan
Wouldn't you
showing
like
his
to
hand
see-
early.
Wouldn't you like to see Jughead do some water skiing tricks before they give up?
Well, I do like The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody. I'm a huge fan of that show.
The semester at sea was my favorite season.
The weird thing about that show is that the kid is hitting on an adult woman.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that?
I'll give you a hint, Sean. Same kind of thing happens in this show.
That I'm telling you, that lady looks like almost half of my ex-girlfriend.
Sean got it tight.
Really does.
So yeah, man, today we're going to be talking about Riverdale, the first 2 episodes. So, hopefully you've seen those. If you haven't, I think you can actually stream them all now on the Netflix.
CW.
Or CW.
No, CW.
I'm hoping for your sake you didn't watch these 2 episodes.
I'm telling you, you oughta. You just oughta.
Otter. Okay. So yeah, man. But I do want to say this. We got some good news here. This is late breaking, by the way. We just got a new Patreon subscriber here, man. So shout out here to Robert. Robert is the newest Patreon member here. And guess what, guys? He's actually an executive producer. Jumped in with both feet.
Thank you,
Like
Robert.
That is
like that.
fantastic. And he leaves a fantastic statement that I think should go on for the glory of all time. Dick Gunfighter is the greatest American hero. That's why I pledged America.
There's your T-shirt, Adam.
So yeah, that'll be the new T-shirt. Speaking of which, for those of you that go over to patreon.com/HMP, we got a new thing. that we just launched, and this is the first month that we're going to do it, where we put all the names in a hat, and we are going to draw out a name and give that person a bit of free HMP swag. Now, this is anyone that donates, from levels, 1 all the way on up. So it could be anybody. So, but this week, I did the drawing earlier. I did because I did it in a random number generator, and I'd like to do it in front of the screen because we're live. I'd like to do it in front of the screen, but I don't have a real hat. It was a digital hat. I'm not gonna lie to you. But Jim Beverly has won himself a little bit of HMP swag. Jim, I'm going to be getting in contact with you, buddy. We're going to get you something nice. If you want that Greatest American Hero, you might have to T-shirt. You may have to wait a while. The Dick Gunfighter Greatest American Hero T-shirt. That might take a little while to procure because I got to design it. But we'll get you something nevertheless. But if you'd like to do that, drop on down to Here Movie Patreon.com/HMP. Also. There's a new thing, guys. We're finally getting out of the shekels. I know for the longest of times it was like, oh man, we got to wait through. We got to do this Audible ad. That's all going to be fun. Who wants to sit and actually wait through an entire Audible ad? It's boring. It's terrible. And you know what? We kept doing the same ones over and over and over again. Right, Bruce?
Oh, yeah.
And the biggest problem for me is that, it's unusable. But we've actually been upgraded. We've been upgraded in the land of Audible, and they said, "Hey guys, go ahead and do your stuff in the show now." So happy days are here again. So if you guys want to check out Audible.com, pretty much one of the best places to go for audio. No. I'm going to take that back. It's the only place to go for audiobooks.
Yes. Proudly just submitted my own book to Audible today, so I'm waiting to hear back from them when it gets accepted. So I'm a big fan of Audible all of a sudden.
Do us a favor. Just do like do your Audible voice. Give us like 5 seconds of what you do.
Oh, okay. Then he came in to the.
I didn't say do. I didn't say do me. Don't do an Adam impression.
Stumble. He stumbled while he was reading.
Oh, how dare you, sir?
Let's see if I can do a great Audible voice.
How dare you be wildly accurate?
Oh, let me come up with something to say. Sweet greasy cheeses. That's the sort of thing I would say.
So if you would like to have audio quality like that, what I want you to do is go to audible.com/try now. Super simple. Like I said before in the other ads and stuff, if you're already an Amazon member, super easy to go over there. Type in all your good stuff. You're off and running. And even if you don't decide to keep the service, you still decide to keep the book. And, if you're on the go or, walking, working out, whatever you're doing, it's a great way to do it, man. And if you're like me and you don't like reading, hey, it's the best of both worlds.
It's great for multitasking too, man. That's
exactly.
Why I love it.
That's what I like to tout. Whether it's true or not, I don't know, but that's what I like to say. I'm multitasking, doggone it. So go on down and visit those guys. Audible.com/try now. So we thank Audible so much for sponsoring this here podcast. All right, so let's get into it, gentlemen. Here is the trailer for Riverdale.
Oh my God.
Every corpse has a tale to tell, and this one has the touch of evil.
Archie, a kid is dead. I saw you guys.
How you feel about me? Is it real?
I'm asking you right now if you love me.
Who are you lying to?
I'm breakfast at Tiffany's, but this place is strictly in cold blood.
This should be fun.
Did you and Donnie Darko kill them together?
Nothing this bad was ever supposed to happen here.
Maybe there's another side to the story.
There's a possibility Jason's murderer will soon be in this room.
This whole car is a crime scene. No fingerprints.
You're a little more dangerous than you look.
Riverdale, series premiere Thursday, January 26th on the CW.
Thanks for watching.
All right. Oh, shut up, Evan Peters or whatever. No, wait. What? We were talking about Evan Peters before the show.
Yeah, totally.
That's not who that is.
There.
That's Jughead.
Yeah, Cole Sprouse.
So yeah, man. Here's the IMDb plot line. As we know, IMDb always 100% correct in everything they say and or do. A subversive take on Archie and his friends exploring small town life, the darkness, the weirdness building beneath Riverdale's wholesome facade. This is starring K.J. Appa, and a whole lot of other people. I just looked at it and I'm like, oh, there's a lot of names I will not pronounce correctly. So let's move the train along and say, Bruce, I'm sure this has somewhat of a comic book connection. Fill us in.
Well, 23 years before anyone asked the question, Ginger or Mary Ann? And by the way, the answer to that is Mary Ann. But anyway, 23 years before anyone asked that question, Ginger or Mary Ann, young fellows were asking Betty or Veronica. Because in 1941, the Riverdale gang first showed up in Pep Comics number 22. Now, Betty Cooper was originally based on Betty Tokar Yankovic, a Czech immigrant who briefly dated Archie creator Bob Montana in 1939 when she was 18 years old, and I'm sure Bob Montana was at least 52 at the time. Well, Betty is the quintessential girl next door. Betty is friends with everybody and is a loving daughter and sister. She likes to help the homeless, read to the senior citizens, and rescue wounded animals and birds. She loves fashion and driving around the block. Betty's very good at fixing cars, and she frequently helps Archie with his broken-down car, Betsy. She's one of the smartest students at Riverdale High School, and at one point she gained ESP when an encyclopedia accidentally fell on her head. In short, Betty is the total package. She has everything a guy could want, except for maybe one thing: big fat stacks of cash. You see, Betty is firmly middle class. But you know who does have beaucoup de bucks? One dark-haired seductress named Veronica Lodge. Veronica is Betty's best friend and fiercest romantic rival. You see, nowhere is this more evident than when she and Veronica are competing for Archie Andrews' heart, and yet they remain best friends. This might be history's first recorded case of frenemies. Veronica once told Archie that she and Betty are only rivals in unimportant matters like boys. Betty and Veronica are different, though, in more ways than simply hair color and money. You see, Betty plays the tambourine, but Veronica plays the organ.
Whoa.
And I'm sure Bob Montana intended the innuendo. Now, Veronica's last name is Lodge, and her family is based on the real-life Lodge family. The Lodge family are a prominent New England political family, and among the families who make up the Boston Brahmins, also known as the First Families of Boston. This prominent family once hired Bob Montana to paint a mural for them and he immortalized them by making them one of the most hated families in comics. Mr. Lodge claimed that he moved his family to Riverdale in order to avoid Veronica becoming spoiled, like many of the children he knew and grew up with. His plan did not succeed as well as he had hoped, because Veronica is often seen going on spending sprees and pretty much shopping until she drops. She burns through major credit cards in the process, and one time she bought an entire shoe store to prevent any other girl in school from getting a pair of shoes like hers.
Nice.
So what does Archie see in Veronica? Well, I'm going to lay it out for you, Adam. I figure that Betty might let Archie get to first base, but Veronica's probably playing a whole different game. I mean, it's probably like Quidditch going into a closet for 7 minutes with that hot tamale. And speaking of closets, let's talk about the character that shattered the closets in comics, Kevin Keller. Kevin is, in my opinion, the greatest gay character in all of comics. He shatters stereotypes and is far and away the bravest and most heroic person in Riverdale on the comic book pages. In Keller's initial storyline, Isn't It Bromantic?, Veronica expresses interest in dating Kevin, but he's not interested. Later on, he bonds with Jughead over a mutual love of food, and Kevin explains that he doesn't want to date Veronica because he's gay. Kevin also ends up becoming Veronica's best friend. Kevin becomes class president. Kevin becomes a zombie-killing archer. Kevin's an all-around great guy. As an adult, Keller runs for and wins election to the United States Senate on a platform of stricter gun control legislation. And in the final issue of Life with Archie, Archie Andrews sacrifices himself and dies saving the newly elected Senator Keller from an assassination attempt. Kevin Keller's first appearance in Veronica number 202 proved so popular that the issue sold out, and it was the first time in the 70-plus year history of Archie Comics that they ever reprinted an issue. Archie Comics legend Dan Parent had this to say about Kevin. Not everybody's particularly happy about it, but from where I'm sitting, it's been about 98% positive. I think we all know at least one of those 2% that didn't like it. So in summary, some people who only know Archie from the double digests may think the CW show is a bit melodramatic when compared to the source material, but the deeper diving comics fan knows that the world of Riverdale in the comics has dealt with gay marriage, gun control, implied twincest, and a zombie apocalypse. One thing I will grant you, though, in my wildest dreams, I never expected to see a sexy Miss Grundy.
Who did? But now, Bruce, let me ask you this: that what was the name of the main guy there that founded the whole thing and everything?
Bob Montana's one of the two creators.
Bob Montana just sounds like a guy who seriously owns like the best steakhouse in town, right?
Either that or he's like one of those guys with an infomercial that you call to find out which team's going to cover the spread tomorrow.
Hi, I'm Bob Montana, and I'm here to tell you what the Bills game's going to do this week.
I'm 110% against the spread.
Forget about it. You can tell we know a lot about sports betting. It's like their in-depth knowledge on sports betting it's unparalleled there on HMB.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, so like Archie's had that giant long kind of winded thing, and like you always think about like, oh well, it is that kind of wholesome, kind of 60s sort of thing and everything. But I mean, they fought Predator for heaven's sake.
Yeah, they fought a Sharknado.
It's like, part of me just goes, good on them, man, for just kind of going, hey, we're going to put in whatever we want to put in, and that's just what's going to happen. But this new...
And I'll say it's also about time Hollywood got back to casting 30-year-olds as high school sophomores and 32-year-olds as teachers.
Luke Perry still looks like he did, 25 years ago.
90210, yeah.
No, he does not.
Okay.
He looks 117 years old on this show.
But he doesn't have the gray hair in his temples like he did back in the 90s.
They got rid of those.
And I just want to get this out of the way and go on record as letting everyone know that no one is happier to see Luke Perry back on television than I am. I am the world's largest Luke Perry fan you're ever going to meet. I always like Dylan better than Brandon, and Luke Perry's the guy.
Wow,
I even saw that 8 seconds movie.
It's basically a fastball for you then, huh? You love the Archies. You love Luke Perry.
Yeah.
You like murder.
But there are a few flaws I'll point out. It's not all good stuff.
All right, so let's kind of get into it here. So this was something that came out here. Now, Greg in the chat room, I think he put it kind of best for the new generation. This trailer felt like Veronica Mars meets Dawson's Creek.
Perfect.
Yeah,
never watched much of those two shows.
Veronica Mars is an awesome show.
It really is. If you haven't seen Veronica Mars, you're doing yourself a disservice.
Is Dax Shepard in it?
No.
No.
Oh, then I'm not going to watch it.
Why did I know that's where it was going? It's just like, hey, if there's no Dax Shepard, you might as well just jump off, pal, because I don't want none of it.
Weirdly, though, Bruce, I think Dax Shepard is in the Bazooka Joe remake. That'll be on the CW next year.
It's going to be directed by Kevin Smith.
Kevin Smith does the new Bazooka Joe. Hey, who's to say? Why did that kid have an eye patch? Bruce, you know more about comics. Why did that weird Bazooka Joe, didn't he have an eye patch?
Oh, I think he blew one too many bubbles. I don't know.
Good one.
I'd like to get a Bazooka Joe omnibus that's like as thick as a phone book, but still the size of a little candy wrapper.
It's as big as crab at your pocket.
I hear Luke Perry is going to be playing Hungry Herman in the Bazooka Joe remake.
Oh, you got me, man. You had me at Dax Shepard. You throw in the Luke Perry. It's a no-brainer.
Here's what I want to say. Where, just for a moment right now, I want everyone to go, what other podcast are you going to listen to this week that's going to give you this much in-depth Bazooka Joe commentary? You're not going to find it. I'm just saying. So yeah, when I saw the trailer for this thing initially, it was not necessarily the Archie that I thought we were probably going to get. I was like, oh, it'll probably be, a little darker, but it'll still kind of feel like, one of the CW shows does, right?
I really, really did not think I was going to like this show based on the trailer. I really did not.
Me neither.
Only one of us was surprised.
Only one of us was like, well.
Come back after this break to find out who it was.
Ridiculous. But yeah. Okay, so let's get general impressions out here. Sean, this is just, I don't know. I'm not too good on picking up on stuff, but you loved it, right?
That's right. I can't wait. I can't wait for this thing to come out on Blu-ray so I could watch it over and over again. See, look, I don't know. I can't put my finger on why I hate it so much. It might be because it's just the type of show that I can't stand. I never watched Dawson's Creek. I never watched 90210. I hate all of those shows. I've always hated those shows. And that's what this show is. I mean, that is exactly what it is. And, when we were texting back and forth, because we're friends in real life also, they said, one of you had said, it's kind of like 90210 meets Twin Peaks. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, oh, well, maybe it's a little better than I thought it wasn't. But the only reason why this thing is even remotely, like, I know why you guys said that, but the only thing that this thing has in common with Twin Peaks is that there's a murder and sometimes you see some trees. Like, that's the only thing that they have in common.
For the record, Adam's who said that, and I think this is way better than Twin Peaks.
It's
structured way better. And you know what? There's a world where maybe Betty Cooper is like the daughter of Kyle Cooper or whatever his name was.
Well, I'm going to
Kyle MacLachlan's character.
But Bruce, here's the thing with Twin Peaks is that, look, I understand why you're saying that, and you definitely have a right to your opinion, but with Twin Peaks, there were so many ideas in that show that it was just sparking off ideas. That's how much creativity was in that show. The level of creativity that's in Riverdale is the same amount of creativity that goes into a Bazooka Joe comic. I mean, it's the same level.
I think it's structured a little better than Twin Peaks. I think this will probably end somewhere. And Twin Peaks, man, it's like an art film. It's like David Lynch. I mean, that's exactly what it is. Where a lot of what makes it a good property isn't what typically makes a show or a movie a good property. Like there are plenty of people who are going to think that Eraserhead is awful. And there are going to be people that appreciate it. And I appreciate a lot about Twin Peaks. I was making a little bit of a joke there, but I do think this probably has a big picture in mind that Twin Peaks never did.
Right, because you're a fan of narrative, and the narrative in Twin Peaks is not a huge deal. It's more about the ride.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. Twin Peaks had a great first season, and then they didn't know where to go from there.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to say something controversial. I'm not a huge, because we clearly already said it, but the first part's not as controversial, I guess, is I'm not a real fan of Twin Peaks myself. Bigger part than that, I'm not really a big David Lynch fan myself. So
that is not surprising to me at all. It would have been much more surprising if you were to say, I'm a huge fan of David Lynch, would have been the big surprise to me.
Here's what I expected. I expected Adam to say that other than Dune, his work's not very good.
I could not make it through Dune. I was just like, again, it comes down to that thing where it's just like, you want to give me the Kmart Star Wars? I'm good. I got a Star Wars, so.
Speaking of that, you guys saw that news this week, right?
What, Kmart shutting down?
Yes, I did see that news.
Is there something else?
No, you nailed it. It's
I did.
Kmart.
Okay, good.
I thought you had either Dune and or Star Wars updates here.
I was like, what's a good smart mouth answer that I'm...
They brought Lynch back to do the Dune prequels, 3 of them. He has total creative control.
That's not true at all.
No, it's not.
Okay, so let's get back on topic here, man.
Hey, we've gotten emails saying they loved it.
Please.
Well, one thing I want to say is I really expected this to be much more like someone attempting to tap some familiar names on a script for a pilot that had nothing to do with Archie Comics. But when I see this, I think I have the closest relationship to the comics of the 3 of us.
Yeah.
Oh, without a doubt.
And I think I can see a level of understanding of Archie characters that I was not expecting to see. And some liberties were taken, but they're the kind of liberties that are taken by a person who understands what he's working with. And I don't know if Berlanti was an Archie fan, if some of the writers involved had this like long time passion project to make this happen, but I was floored with just how seriously they were taking it, especially when you think all we have to compare to is that Return to Riverdale TV movie from the like 90s and Josie and the Pussycats. This person has a more passionate, intimate relationship with these characters than the people that worked on those other two projects did.
Well, I will tell you, I don't think it's Berlanti at all. I think that Berlanti is basically the guy who pushed this project through because he had the muscle to do it. But I don't think that he has much to do with the show itself. You know, like he probably threw out a couple of suggestions of what they could do, but his fingerprints aren't on this thing. Like I can't see his writing in it.
No, I'll absolutely agree with that because I this is one of the few rare times where I didn't actually read the credits or anything that was going into it. And I'll be completely honest with you, I didn't know that they were involved with this. And now that you say it, I'm like, no, it doesn't seem like their stuff at all. So you're not wrong.
Yeah. Maybe this is a side of Berlanti we haven't seen before. Maybe this is what Green Lantern could have been if they let Berlanti have total control.
Oh, my God. Shut your stinking mouth. How dare you? How dare you?
Rather than, we have a murder mystery here, and then it kind of ends, episode 2 kind of ends on a cliffhanger. But other than that, the through story, I don't think is the most interesting point of conversation. I'd kind of like to just talk about these characters, the way they're interpreted and how we feel about them. Is that something you guys would be cool with?
Yeah.
Because there's a whole lot here to say, and I think every character has a nugget of faithfulness to the comics and a nugget of newness. And I guess we should start with Archie.
Nugget of newness. I love that.
Is there anything you like about this guy playing Archie or the way Archie's depicted here, Sean?
Well, first, he's not actually a ginger. His hair is dyed. I think that's ridiculous. You can find a million good-looking kids that could play this role. I think that's a very poor choice to have electric red hair on your main character. I think he's a pretty good actor. There's something about him where, for some reason, even though he's wading in filth on this show, I still like him as an actor.
I didn't expect to see an Archie with those chiseled six-pack abs and the pectoralis muscles of such an impressive sight. He was a little bit more built than I ever pictured Archie being. Doesn't have that touch of clumsiness and goofiness that makes you read the comics and wonder why in the world are Betty or Veronica fighting over this guy? But
that's not the show. That's not the show that they're making here. That he's got to be super, super good looking. And he's got to be, and the clumsiness has to go away because that's not what this show is. Like, it's not funny. There's nothing funny about the show at all.
So they couldn't have a Grant Gustin style Archie.
No.
See, I think they could have, and also maybe the fact that the perfect live action Archie, the Heath Ledger as Joker version of Archie has already existed in live action in a roundabout way. And Ron Howard as Richie Cunningham was a golden age Archie comics on the big screen. So you have to go in a different direction. I guess you're never going to get another Ron Howard as Richie Cunningham, i.e. my version of Archie.
You're making alternate universe Archies with Ron Howard.
Alternate nothing, man. That show was so much like Archie Double Digest version of Archie. They even had a band, you've seen that Weezer video. They had a band. Ralph Mouth was Jughead. It's all there.
Wow, that's a really good call, man. I'd never put that together before.
No. Look at it. Learning, man. That's what we do on this show is learn.
And initially, Potsy was even kind of a Reggie Mantle, but then they made him a nicer character as the show unfolded. And then from some bizarre turn of events, they had 22 seasons after Ron Howard left. I think that was a bad choice.
Joni does love
the Fonz
Chachi.
was living upstairs. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, but I guess anything that kept Harry Winkler in a job, I can be for.
Weren't they kind of also like Family Matters, where they sent a child up to the room and then never existed again, like the sister?
The pilot. True. It was Chuck. Chuck Cunningham. Chuck went upstairs and never came back down ever again. He was the basketball-playing tall older brother. What about?
We need someone that looks more square.
Yeah. What about Betty here? I guess after Archie, you got to move to the big three non-Archie characters, and that's Betty, Veronica, and Jughead. And I want to see what you guys think about Betty, because I've got my own opinion on Betty, and I want to see if it lines up with you guys at all.
Okay, so I'm going to start with Betty. I'm a fan of, like, I think everybody in this is doing a good job, and now she does that right thing of just kind of, number one, she's a good looking lady. She's like 20, so I feel okay saying that. But she's good looking. You can understand why a good looking kid like Archie would like her and everything. And all of these kids can act. And she's definitely an actor in this thing, man. The biggest problem that I guess that I have is that it seems weird to me, and maybe they'll play this up later in the season, but it seems weird to me that, like, a girl that kind of seems to have, these, for lack of a better word, values, that the rest of her family seems, cocoa bananas. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that is a little bit tricky there. I didn't see that when I watched it, but when you raised that point, I agree. You have any Betty thoughts over there, Sean?
She's okay. I don't like I don't like the fact that she's pining over a dude that she can't have, and there's no one else going after her. She is too good looking a girl that people would be all over her all the time.
And I don't know, this isn't fair to the actress who's cast as Betty right now, but as you know, out of the three of us, I'm the one who spent the most years wondering what Betty would look like in real life. And I think if this show had been made like 3 or more years ago, Melissa Benoist would have been the perfect Betty, man. She is a Betty.
Yeah, no, I can definitely see that, because it has, like, she has, like, a little bit more, and again, this isn't to sound disparaging, but she has a little bit more kind of normal gal look to her. She's still
got that perfect cute girl next door.
Yeah,
like,
that's what I'm
not
looking
too
for.
Remarkable, but and she's also an awesome actress too. I love her in Supergirl, and she just kind of has, even the character that she plays in Supergirl has what I picture as Betty's personality. So maybe that's got part to do with it. But I think she would have been great, and this actress is fine too. I don't know enough about her after 2 episodes, but she's no Veronica. I'm just going to go ahead and say that, because this woman who plays Veronica in this show is, in my opinion, the best character on the show so far. How do you guys feel about Veronica?
Interesting. Okay. So what's kind of appealing to you about her? I mean,
Well, one thing I'm going to say is 30 plus years as a devoted Archie fan, I have never in my life been Team Veronica until now.
Wow.
But this actress, the way the character's written, they bring a little something that character's never had in the comics. They make her not just the bad guy, I mean, they really play out that duality of her nature a little bit better. They've also changed up the dynamic of this love triangle where there's not really anything from Archie towards Betty, which is not how it is in the comics. It's Archie's just too greedy to make up his mind in the comics. Here, he's not that into either one of them really. But this actress is good, man. She's got something. I've never seen her in anything before, but she's really got something, in my opinion.
Well, this is her first show because I looked her up.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Wow. So good on her, man.
Yeah.
You have any thoughts about her?
Well, my thoughts is that the words that are coming out of her mouth are so stupid and like it just makes me fall asleep what the characters are saying to each other. But there's something like I like the way I like the look of this girl. Is basically what I'm trying to say.
It's like Shakira said, those hips don't lie, man.
No, and she
We're quoting
for
Shakira
something that's her first show. I think she's doing a very good job.
Yeah, I think that's after 2 episodes, that's the character that I'm most curious about, most interested in. On the other hand of that is Jughead. Cole Sprouse himself, Jughead. Jughead, my most beloved character from Archie Comics, and it's a little unexpected the way they're dealing with him on the show. I'm going to guess you guys aren't a bigger fan of him than I am.
I'll say this, man. Like I said, I'm not the Archie fan that Bruce is, but if I was to go, hey, which one of these characters are you? I think you guys know I'm clearly a Jughead. I mean, that much.
All you need's the hat, man. What do you think about Jughead's hat, Sean?
I think it's fine. You know, I'm not a Jughead. As is very clear, I've never been a fan of Archie at all. It felt like something from a time before I was born, and I don't have that nostalgia thing for that period of time. What I like about the new character is how they've cast him, because making Cody from the Sweet Life Jughead, there's something different about him. And even though in these first 2 episodes you don't see it because you don't really see him being funny, I think that turn is about to happen in the next few episodes, where, you know, he's going to be a bit of comic relief in a show that is desperately in need of something other than what they're doing right now.
Yeah,
and something else brilliant about that casting is if Cole Sprouse ever asks for more money, they can just kick him to the curb and hire his twin brother to play the role.
Very true.
But I think you start to see that maybe a tiny bit towards the end of episode 2, where he kind of has a little bit of a funny line here or there. But I mean, nothing that's like slap your knee or anything. But you do feel like, oh, well, there might be a little bit of levity coming on from at least one character in this program.
And near the end of episode 1, I think where Archie fans are supposed to feel the heartbreak is when Betty says to Archie, "Do you love me?" And he just tells her flat out, "No, I can't love you like you want me to, Betty." I think that's when our hearts are supposed to be broken. But for me, it's at the end of the episode when he walks into Pops, and we find out that he and Jughead have had something happen between them, and they're no longer friends. That is what ripped my heart out, because those guys are like the best friends from comics. They're like the Laurel and Hardy of comics. That's how good of friends they are.
But I liked it. I like that kind of dynamic, and like you said, of what we know from, you know, the characters themselves ahead of time, and they're like, oh, they're not best friends in this. What the heck's going on here? It seems, you know, really odd.
Well, you get the idea they were best friends.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Something happened. Yeah.
And so I'm curious to see where that goes. I think this, at least with these first 2 episodes, with me, it seems like they've planted enough breadcrumbs to make me at least go, oh, well, this might be something that, you know, that they could actually build on, instead of, you know, really putting it all on Front Street from the get-go, you know?
And speaking of breadcrumbs, here very, very soon, they need to have Jughead with a big plate of cheeseburgers in front of him, because at some point I've got to have Jughead eating way too many burgers, because he's the only person in comics that could probably beat Wimpy in a hamburger eating contest.
Why hasn't that happened yet? Let's...
Now, talking about characters with the new twist, what you got for Moose over there, Sean?
Yeah, a closeted gay guy, like, you know, that's fine.
I feel bad for Midge.
You gotta make somebody other than Kevin Gay on this show, and so they were, you know, because you gotta show everybody, look, we're really on the edge here of cutting edge television. I'm sorry that I'm so dismissive of the show, Bruce, because I know how much you love Archie, and but literally, watching these 2 episodes, it was like a 17-hour marathon for me watching these things. So I'm sorry for my attitude problem that I'm having. I really am, because I know that, and I know you're trying to include me and stuff, and I'm just sitting over here seething with impotent rage. I'm sorry about that, but you know, like everything, literally, there is not a single thing about this show where I'm like, well, at least there's that. Like, I don't even have that with this show.
I think that I would have liked to see Moose look more like a young, like a young Jason Momoa or Joe Manganiello, like a really big guy. Like, Moose has the name Moose because he is this really big guy. The guy they have playing Moose here looks like a 32-year-old insurance salesman. I mean, he doesn't look Moose-like to me.
I can't say that I've had any just, you know, hardline thoughts on Moose.
I wonder what the cross section is here. Is it just Bruce, the Venn diagram of people who are massive Archie fans and people who watched Riverdale? Is there like, what does that look like? When do the 2 circles merge? Is there just room for Bruce Leslie in there?
There's me and Moose. We're the only 2 people there, and we're not telling people what we're up to.
we're down at the lake, and we ain't saying nothing.
What about Reggie, man. It took him to the second episode to really make Reggie a jerk, because Reggie needs to be the jerk of the series. He needs to be the guy version of everything that Cheryl Blossom is so far.
Yeah, I mean, he's fine. I mean, I like how he does. You know, he plays the jerk properly, and he has that like. And again, it seems like it's a little bit more real to where, like, he's not like straight up just instigating fights, but he is talking a lot of smack. You know, especially like in the second episode there with Jughead and everything, just enough to get him to the point where Jughead just goes at him and everything. You know. Yeah.
And, I thought they took it a little too easy on Reggie in the first episode, but by the second, they did get him to be a jerk like he should be. Like, he's not just the male equivalent of Veronica. He's a little bit more nasty than she is, though he is still, for some reason, allowed to perform with the Archies in the comic books.
The problem that I have is, like, he doesn't have the look that Reggie always has in the books of, like, I just smelled like a weird fart.
Yeah, and I think the actor may be Asian or something too, so they've given him a little touch of a little more interesting that way, rather than have every single person except for Gilbert be Caucasian here, so that's kind of nice. They've spiced it up a little bit like that, but I didn't care much for Reggie in the first episode, but he was getting better as it goes on. I'm sure, Sean, this is probably your favorite character, right?
Well, it's funny, man, because the kid, he looks like he might be of Asian descent. The kid in my high school that gave me the most hell was also of Asian descent. I swear to God, he was also of Asian descent. And so for years and years, and like, this might be too truthful, for years and years, I had a problem with Asian people because that kid used to pick on me all the time. It probably took me like 10 years out of high school to be like, look, not everybody is wow, I almost said his real name. Not everybody is like that guy. And so watching him on the show, because I just watched the second, I muscled through the second episode today. Watching him do that, I was like, oh my God, man, I know exactly what that feels like. I know who that guy is.
And the most difficult character to cast, in my opinion, is Kevin. I don't know where they found they got a time machine and got a young Dick York to play Kevin here, but they did it.
Yeah,
what
Kevin's really good.
There's like 17 people on the cast of Glee who look just like this dude. What are you talking about?
He's got the nose, the chin, the ears. It's bewitched how they did that.
Now you're just.
That kid looks like every other person on the show Glee.
I've only seen the episodes with Melissa Benoist and Grant Gustin on them.
Have you actually watched those?
No. Is Dax Shepard on that show?
Yes, he is.
I got to check it out.
Yeah. His song is I'm Mad About Dax.
I got to go check that out, man. I like Dax the Destroyer.
His run in Glee was legendary.
But Kevin, man, a little bit more stereotypical than he is in the comics, in a way, but I still like it. I still like the guy. I think he's doing a good enough job.
He's
well, because when you're GBF, when you're the GBF role, like, you can get away with a lot more on television.
Oh, I had to think about that. I was like, Greg Berlanti's friend? What's GBF? But then I kind of figured it out.
When he's GBF, he's something. Now, that's good. I mean, like, again, I don't know. It all seems pretty well done to me. Now, over in the chat room, it's the first time we've ever been able to say that. But over in the chat room, Alex says something here, kind of foretelling the future of the program. He says, I read somewhere that Sabrina the Teenage Witch is going to show up later in the season. A Wiccan modernization of Sabrina would be pretty neat if they went in that direction. What do you think about that, Bruce?
I haven't seen that she's expected to appear, but I think it would be foolish for her not to. I do have some spoiler-ish casting tidbits that I found that I was going to share near the end of the show, but I haven't seen that one.
Don't you dare ruin it for Sean.
I think it's good for two reasons, Sean, and I'm going to tell you why. Number one, Melissa Joan Hart needs the work.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say. I was hoping that it would be her cast and she's playing a high schooler.
And number two, that is the perfect way to open the door to Afterlife with Archie, which is where this show needs to go.
Okay. I mean, maybe. Now, let's talk real quick also about something that I did not know was going to be in there, and the big surprise of Josie and the Pussycats, man.
Yeah, man. What did you think about that? I especially in episode 2 when they got to sing the song that I totally expected Archie to sing in episode 1.
I'm glad that we didn't hear that song coming out of him because it's just like. And here's the thing, I like that song. I really do.
You know, when he's sitting at the picnic table with his little notebook of all the lyrics he's written over the summer, and Veronica and Betty are asking him, go ahead, sing something to us, and he plays them something on his laptop or whatever. How awesome would that have been if he was like real nervous and he pushes play and it's that bubblegum pop, sugar, sugar, pop, pop.
And it's exactly that song you mean?
Yes. I don't even mean an updated version. I mean the 1960s by the Archies. That's the song he wrote.
I'm for that, man. That song sold 600 million copies. Was like, I think the only song to be by like a fictional group to be #1 at Billboard for like that entire year.
Milli Vanilli came close, but they didn't pass.
It wasn't for the whole year. That was the problem.
Yeah.
They had two hits, so you had to split them up.
I was hoping when he pressed the button on his laptop, the Seagulls "Stop It Now" song would start.
Now, Josie and the Pussycats aren't real friendly in this show. It's a little bit of a departure from the Josie and the Pussycats that we got to talk about a month or so ago.
I also kind of liked it because they were just like, oh, no, you don't, sucker. You are not coming in here and screwing up our band with your horrible stuff. We're going to be the musical entertainment for this show. So how about you just keep on walking? That's what I liked about it.
Hey, but we know by the end of the year we are going to have that battle of the bands with Miss Grundy as the judge. And let's hear it for Miss Grundy, by the way. How have we made it this long without pointing out that Miss Grundy is the biggest departure from the comics? Because the Miss Grundy in the comics was not someone I could imagine wrestling with Archie in the backseat of a car.
Miss Grundy looked like a really old, like in the comics, looked like a really old olive oil.
It looked like Jughead in drag is the common joke from Archie fans.
Well, there you go. But, you know, they made her hot because, you know, that's I'd like to say it's in the news, but that's only been like a story since, you know, forever and a day.
Yeah, I didn't know it was going to be her until I watched the pilot. I really didn't follow the updates on this show. But that Sugar Sugar song that we do get in the second episode, man, are you going to play us out on that? Because that's a great song. I kind of like that.
Their version? I mean, if it's available.
The Josie version? Yeah.
You look, I've already had problems with copyright. You know that.
hey Sean,
did you play the Seagulls "Stop It Now" song?
Did you at least like the halftime show where
No,
Josie
it was awful. I literally fast forwarded through. No, like Bruce, I'm telling you, like I know that you're trying to, and I hate that that I don't have something positive to say about it, but literally it was like the best way I can describe it to you is that, like, to me, because I know you're a big Archie's fan, but to me it was like watching a serious take on Dennis the Menace, or like a serious take on. Like, you know that the one-page ads in old Marvel comics where like the Hulk would stop the bad guy with Hostess fruit pies?
Yes.
That's literally what this felt like to me.
Those were so great. Just those like weird interstitial ads that you just like, especially if it's from the same type of book that you're reading, because all of a sudden you're like, where did this weird plot line come out of? The art's changed, everything's weird, but you still keep reading. You're just like, oh, this is a stupid ad. You suck, comic.
Now,
and Bruce, I really do hate it because I know, I hate how dismissive I am of this because I know that you really like this show. I know you do. But literally, my skin crawls with the thought of having to watch another episode of this. I did everything else besides have my eyes on the television towards the last half of the second episode, but I did get through it, except for when I fast forwarded through the stupid song.
Now,
go ahead.
How much do you know about the Blossom twins from the comics? We got to talk about Cheryl here a little.
I know nothing.
Because the comics, way before this show was ever made, and it was really driven home about 4 years ago when Afterlife with Archie started its run. But the comics have really made this questionably inappropriate relationship between Carol and Jason Blossom a thing, which most people would be shocked to hear that that's the sort of thing going on in Archie Comics. And I think they did a wonderful job of making this look like panels from the comics when they're sharing a milkshake, they're holding hands and going on a rowboat together.
As brother and sister are oft want to do.
Yes, if I had a nickel for every time me and my sister went on a romantic rowboating trip out in the middle of the woods alone, I would almost have change for a dime.
Well, it's time to drive her down old Lover's Lane here with my sister. Bunch of... Okay.
Yawn, arm over the back.
Oh, no.
But I got to tell you, this is the kind of show where I don't think they're above making this plot twist maybe in season 7. But I think we're going to find out that Luke Perry isn't Archie's real father and that Archie is actually the third Blossom sibling with the red hair connection.
Look, honestly, that sort of kind of crossed my mind in a weird way because they all look alike. I was like, there's 3 weird looking gingers in this school. So it is what it is. Now, I will say that the Blossom girl, I love her because she is a true jerk, man. And
she definitely looks like someone who wants to speak to the manager. I'll tell you that right now.
Now, this drove me bonkers, and I don't know why I want to bring it up, but I feel like I have to. When she's in with what's her nose there, and like she's straddling her, doing her makeup. First of all, that's modern television for you. Hey, how do we make this scene sexier?
That's exactly how Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley put their makeup on.
Yes, God, I hope so. But she's doing something. She's doing her makeup and then uses an eyelash curler on her eyebrows. I got really mad at that.
I've tried that before. It doesn't work all that great.
This is not what you do there. I mean, I've seen tons of ladies put on makeup. That's never happened. It's weird.
Now, Sean, does that sort of sound like an interesting setup for a creepy horror movie? Adam watches women put makeup on, like a 2-way mirror that he's got set up.
Hey,
they don't know he's back there.
In my own defense, I was married to the woman I was watching at the time.
Okay.
It's not just I'm not just going over to Macy's and going, "What are you doing, gals?"
Way to ruin Bruce's great story, Adam.
Kind of like a Phantom of the Opera type setup, only it's the Phantom of what do they call those makeup counters at the mall?
Phantom of the Clinique counter.
Yeah, Clinique. That's what I was looking for. Man, it's not all good though, because I'm going to admit something that I think Sean and I can agree on. I think they really dropped the ball with Mr. Weatherby. Is that what you were thinking?
Who?
Mr. Weatherby, the principal. He's nowhere near as interesting as he is in the comics on this show.
He's been in it for like 4 seconds, Bruce. How much can you really judge off of 4 seconds worth of content?
Who plays the hostess fruit pie on this show?
Bernie Mac.
I don't know. Yeah, Bernie Mac would be good at that. Bernie Mac would be a good Mr. Weatherby. Like, that's the kind of person you need for Mr. Weatherby.
I'm telling you, kids, which one of you boys did this? That's a good Bernie Mac.
That was really good, Adam.
If you can't get Bernie Mac, who's like the poor man's Bernie Mac? Like Artie Lang, is that who you go to when you can't get Bernie?
Archie, don't you make me break my foot off in your ass.
Actually, the poor man's truly is Steve Harvey.
That's true.
Oh man, he's my West Virginia brother. I can't send him up the creek like that.
I love Steve Harvey so much. That's just like those. You ever watch those tangent? You ever watch those great YouTube videos that are just put to like horrible, sad music and everyone answering all the questions wrong and look on his face of despair? It is one of the most glorious things I've seen in my entire life. God, I love it so much.
It's so good.
It's like the only 2 people in Hollywood that are working from West Virginia are Jennifer Garner and Steve Harvey. So I gotta like the both of them as much as I can.
Buddy cop team up movie.
That would be
Hollywood. Write it.
The remake of Lethal Weapon.
Yeah. No, well, Lethal Weapon's already on television. That's all we're doing now is taking, hey, was this a successful movie? Let's make that a television show. Why? Because we can.
So I've got a couple, I wouldn't call it spoilers. I mean, they're public announcements of people who have been cast to show up later in the season. But do you think people might be upset if I ruin the surprise by mentioning a couple of actors that I think will make Sean want to return to this series?
That won't happen, but continue.
Are you sure? You want to bet money on it? What if I said Skeet Ulrich is scheduled to appear?
Yeah, that doesn't... No sway. No sway.
Makes me think of the Family Guy episode where we went on a cruise and went skeet shooting. You know what you did, Ulrich. I like that. Also, Archie's mom, the actress who will play Archie's mom when she shows up here, has been cast.
Shannon Doherty.
Oh, that would be sweet, but it's somebody even better than that.
Oh, you mean somebody that will work and not have to yell at everybody that works there? Who? I'm sorry.
Think kind of reddish hair, maybe. Maybe she would look pretty in pink. I don't know. Just
what's her?
Molly Ringwald.
Molly Ringwald.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, Molly Ringwald is scheduled to play Archie's mom on the show. I'm excited.
Okay.
She's a little older than Luke Perry, but I think I can believe it.
Well, here's the thing, man. And Molly Ringwald's been looking for work for the past, 30 years at this point. Sorry,
she was in Not Another Teen Movie.
Okay, so 15 years.
Yeah.
Fair enough, I guess.
Yeah.
So let's do this then. Before we kind of start wrapping up, will we be watching this again, Bruce? You seem like you're interested.
Well, I think I'll watch it again. I don't know. I loved the pilot. Episode 2 wasn't as good, and then at the end they had a little cliffhanger that makes me kind of want to know what happens.
Sean, I think we know.
Yeah, you know.
Well,
Skeet Ulrich, Sean. Skeet Ulrich.
Man, that's really, you're moving the needle, but
there's a little bit of seismic activity, but not a whole heck of a lot.
I can't wait until they move the filming location from Vancouver to Charlotte so that Sean has to work on this show.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm a big
part
fan.
about it is that I will never have to read a script for it if I'm working on it and still be able to follow along just fine.
He's just like,
Okay.
oh, gymnasium? I got gymnasium. We can do that. Sure. Whatever. Who cares? All right. So let's get down to it. Before we get to our final review here and everything, we have to find out how this television program relates back to our good friend Sylvester Stallone. My guess is Sean has quite a humdinger for us this week. Sean, what do you got, buddy?
Well, thank you, Adam. I have a prepared statement.
Oh.
Stephen A. Adelson directed an episode of Riverdale, and he seems to be one of Canada's go-to guys if you need someone to direct your god-awful television program. Some artists work in clay, others paint, but Stephen A. Adelson's preferred medium is garbage. His directing career looks like a massive stink pile of human poop. It's as if someone was walking by a pile of worm-riddled filth and said, we got to record this. I know. Let's call Stephen A. Adelson. Now, I don't know this guy, so maybe he's a really good person, and if that's the case, I'm very sorry, Stephen A. Adelson. I'm sorry for the words I'm saying, for the words I've said, and for the words I'm going to say, because you, sir, have worked on some terrible, terrible projects that require me, as a right-thinking person, to call you out on them. After looking through IMDb, I see that you've directed an episode of The Blacklist, the show that was the official death nail in James Spader's Cool Coffin. By the way, that's 2 Spader references in 2 weeks, so I'm going to go for the hat trick next week. We'll see how that goes. I'm sure there's people who think The Blacklist is a wonderful program and that I need to shut up, but those people are wrong. The Blacklist is a show for stupid people who think Silence of the Lambs is too smart for its own britches. Next, I see that Stephen A. Adelson directed an episode of Scorpion, a show that's so bad there's a football-centric podcast that I listen to that does a regular bit on how stupid the TV show Scorpion is. Football guys aren't particularly known for their hilarity. Just watch the Fox football pregame for 5 minutes and learn how unfunny Terry Bradshaw is to know what I'm talking about. But this podcast Scorpion bit is hilarious. It is hilarious. In the effort of truthfulness, I've never actually watched an episode of Scorpion because it seemed like the Riverdale equivalent of a crime procedural show. I almost got that out right. And finally, while he didn't direct it, Stephen A. Adelson worked as the Steadicam operator for the movie Homefront, a movie written by King Turd of Poop Mountain, Sylvester Stallone. Mm-hmm. We've spoken about Homefront before on this show when I needed a Stallone connection like nobody's business. I'll lean on Homefront like a drunk guy on a fat guy. But guess what? I'm doing it again. So there you have it, HMPers. This week's Stallone connection. Now, Moose and Kevin, let's review this absolute dump pile of waste and awfulness.
But alrighty, so let's get down to it. For those of you that don't know, if you want to check out how we rate this bad boy, you can go to facebook.com/Hero Movie Podcast. It's right there at the top of the page. We have our patented Robin rating system. Bruce, where do the first 2 episodes of Archie fall on the Robin rating system for you, sir?
You know, when I first watched the pilot episode, I was blown away, honestly. But a big part of that, I think, had to do with sort of where my expectations were, which was really, really low. But I was just floored with how much thought went into it, in my opinion. Episode 2 brought me back down to earth a little bit, but I'm still pretty sure I like this better than Sean did. But I'm just going to let everybody in on this, and this is not a joke, not a lie. After I watched the pilot episode, I sent you guys a text that said this is the best episode of television Greg Berlanti has ever produced. That might have been an overstatement.
I thought you started drinking hardcore again.
But this is good, man. This is like for me, this is like a weird one. It's sort of on the borderline. I guess I could call it like a Damian Drake or maybe a Tim Wayne or something. Just kind of like in there between Damian Wayne and Tim Drake for me.
Damian Wayne Drakey. Sure.
Yeah, Damian Drake. I like that.
All right, Sean, what do you got?
To me, this is like a revamping of the Burger King Kids Club.
Oh my gosh! So like the best thing ever?
Oh. That's right. Ian Ziering will be playing Wheels.
Yes, yes. Finally.
This, I mean, I've as I've said from the beginning of the show, I hate this show. I hate everything about it. I hate. I will never watch another second of this thing, and I'll be okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I also understand that I'm probably alone in my hatred for this show. This show is probably going to be successful enough where it'll be on for probably 4 seasons, is my guess. But everything about it is nails on chalkboard to me. So I am going to give this a Jason Todd. It's so bad. And I'm sorry that I've been so negative and just bringing the whole thing down, but this is just the worst to me.
I'm going to guess you didn't care much for Swan's Crossing when it was on.
I don't even know what that is.
Look it up sometime. I bet it's on YouTube or something. You'd love it. It's like this, only not as well done.
Oh.
Oh my God! Last night I watched. I'm sorry. I'm veering off here for a second.
It's fine.
Last night I watched a documentary about a girl who was 6 years old who almost killed her parents and her brother. And the whole documentary is about like can they do anything to help this girl, that kind of thing. And it was so scary and so frightening looking at this girl. And I was like, I looked it up because, you know, she's 6 years old. The documentary is in 1989. So I'm looking it up and I find out that there was a CBS TV movie made about this girl. And I got to tell you, one of the greatest things that's ever happened to me is going from watching this documentary, which is scary and frightening, and then watching the CBS movie of the week about it is about the funniest thing you'll ever do in your life, because it's so melodramatic and great. Oh my God, it's so good, so good. Child of Fury, I think is the name of it.
Okay,
so good.
Was Dax Shepard in it?
Yes.
Good, I'll check it out.
So it's worth watching at that point with Dax Shepard.
And for your information, Sarah Michelle Gellar's breakout role was in Swan's Crossing.
Oh, okay.
There you have it. Okay, so down to me. This is the thing. I had no expectations for this going in. I barely read any Archie comics or anything growing up, so I don't really have a big attachment to it by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't hate it either. You know, and by looking at the chat room here, it says it looks a little bit mixed and stuff. So as to their kind of take on it. And I'm a little bit mixed as well. I don't absolutely love it, but there's something about it to where there's just enough in it that intrigues me enough to where I'm like, you know, I'll probably at least do this season until I get one that makes I'm gonna say 2 or 3 episodes in a row that make me just go, ugh, this is terrible, I quit. Outside of that, I'm gonna continue to give it a shot, man, because I just something about it. I'll give it a try. So I'm gonna give this it's a Damian Wayne for right now. So we're right in the middle. But talk to me at the end of the season. Maybe Bruce and I will do a bonus episode where we recap the whole season. We won't make Sean.
In the chat room, Sean, people are suggesting we watch Jim and the Holograms.
That's fine by me.
The movie that was in and out of theaters literally within 1 week, and even the numbers of screens it was on was low when it started.
I grew up with Jim and the Holograms. It was one of my sister's favorite shows.
I won't even be able to defend that one. I never really watched much Jim and the Holograms. I was more of a Misfits guy.
I watched some Jim and the Holograms.
Still am.
I hear they brought back Danzig for a couple shows. It was nice. So
totally outrageous.
Truly outrageous.
Truly,
that's what I mean.
Outrageous.
That's what. See, I told you I wasn't the biggest fan.
That documentary is called Child of Rage, by the way, and the CBS TV movie is also called Child of Rage. And if you want a delightful evening, watch the documentary and then watch the CBS TV movie. It is
I may have to do that.
Child of Rage. All right, so that is it, everybody. Next week, we are going to be reviewing the Lego Batman movie. Can I tell you how excited I am for the Lego Batman movie? I'm very excited.
Okay.
So that's what we'll be doing next week. Of course, you can always send us an email here, moviepodcast@gmail.com. Thanks to everybody that's kind of hung out here on the live stream and everything, man. We've had consistently around 8 to 10 people watching and stuff, and they're yapping back and forth in the chat room and stuff, which is pretty awesome. So very cool, man. Not too shabby. Bruce, where else in the meantime can we find more of your work on the internet, sir?
Hey, you can find it at Amazon. Dragon in the Needles, man. So far, it's gotten a pretty good reception. I want to say thanks to everybody that's already checked it out. Hopefully, I'll be up on Audible within a week or so. And people in 3 different continents have already bought the book. Don't know if they've read it or not, but I'm getting a couple more reviews out there. Just want to say thanks to everybody. Dragon in the Needles.
Very, very nice. Mr. Keenan.
I've written a book also. It's called Inside Dragon in the Needles. And
the documentary.
It is. It's a deep cut on the author's process. Actually, you can find me at Hero Movie Sean on Twitter.com, and please check out Bruce's book.
Absolutely. And, of course, my other podcast, The Film Find at thefilmfind.com. Of course, Preacher Podcast, as always. That's starting up and not too awful long here. And, hey, for those of you that are sitting out in the chat here and everything, watching the live stream, I've got a new podcast that I'm doing every single day called Nerd Talk Now, and I'll be doing it live on the Facebooks like this, because this has actually gone pretty darn well for the most part here. So I'm going to continue to do that over there. So check that out. Just look up Nerd Talk Now on the Facebook there, and you'll find it, man. And, of course, I've got some links up on our regular Facebook page and everything like that as well. That is it, everybody. Until next week when we talk about Lego Batman. For Sean Keenan and Bruce Leslie, I'm Adam Portrais. Stay super, everybody.
Bye, Marty and Edie.
Honey, sugar, sugar. You are my candy girl, and you got me wanting you. I just can't believe the loveliness of loving you. I just can't believe it's true. I just can't believe the wonder of this feeling too. I just can't believe it's true. Ah, sugar. Oh, honey, honey. You are my candy girl, and you got me wanting you. Oh, honey. Oh, sugar, sugar. You are my candy girl, and you got me wanting you. When I kissed you, girl, I knew how sweet a kiss could be. I know how sweet a kiss can be. Like the summer sunshine, pour your sweetness over me.